All right, so my announcement on Twitter X today that I'm starting a series on Candace Owens, an expose on her biography, the allegations that she's made related to the Macrons and Charlie Kirk's assassination, the Macron lawsuit against her. I'm going to look at the whole thing. Well, I announced this today on Twitter X, and it caused a huge stir. I was not anticipating it. So what this tells me is that there are a lot of people who want to know what the deal is with Candace Owens. And I think that anyone who has been following my YouTube channel or my Twitter for the past 5 years that I've been out here publicly making videos on various topics knows that I strive to be an open-minded and fair and rational investigator of truth. So I think that there are a lot of people apparently who want to get to the bottom of things when it comes to Candace Owens, her biography, what she's doing, is she trustworthy, and then these various allegations that she's making, and of course the lawsuit against her. So I have already put out a couple of videos just discussing here at the beginning my general attitude toward Candace Owens and what my concerns are. And I also talked to a former Green Beret who has debunked in a video that we did just the other day, has debunked a number of the claims that she has made. But I do want to start a series in the same fashion of Becoming Brigitte, a multi-part series where I look at Candace Owens, her history, her biography, all kinds of stuff I don't think people are aware of, bad and good. Whatever conclusions I come to, I want to take a look at this. And so if you're interested in this topic, or if you're interested in anything related to all of the drama and controversy around Candace Owens, then subscribe to my channel. I'm going to start putting out those videos soon. I mean, I've already been putting out videos on Candace Owens. By the way, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. Happy holidays. I come to you from my mom's house. I'm actually staying with my mom for the holidays right now. And I hope that everybody has a good day. But yes, this is what I'm going to be getting into. And I have been just recently, and I will be talking to people in Candace Owens' background. And I'm already talking to someone from years ago when she was in her leftist social autopsy. That was a website that she wanted to start to basically more or less dox people. But her early leftist social autopsy days, I'm talking to someone who was in contact with her back then and can tell me more about what was going on behind the scenes there, and her evolution from that to, she says overnight she went from being a leftist to being a conservative. And by the way, if you look at her history, she's gone through a number of really wide swings. And this was partly what was responsible for her, I think, getting let go from the Daily Wire. But I'm going to be looking into that a lot more. Again, I have some preconceived ideas, as we all do. But I'm coming to this, I'm going to be talking to people to try to get to the truth, get a full picture of who she is. And let me just say again that if you look at my work over the past 5 years, you will see that Candace Owens has not only has she not been some kind of obsession of mine, as some of her supporters are claiming, but in fact, I've more or less been completely disinterested in her, except for the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni saga, where I have been at times applauding her coverage of that, also applauding her public position, the public stand she took on Marilyn Manson and his innocence, because that Me Too hoax against him is one of the things that I've been covering on my channel, and she's taken a stand for him, and I appreciated that. I even did a video on her one time thanking her for that. I also thanked her one time for publicly referencing me and my channel and my work on her channel, right? So I thanked her for that. I thought that was great. There was a little hiccup at one point where I was annoyed at her because she was accusing the Daily Mail and other big news forums of copying her when it came to the Baldoni Lively stuff. At one point, she said that the Daily Mail had been ripping her off every day, ripping off her coverage to use for its own coverage. And that did annoy me, and I did call her out on that briefly, because in fact, Candace and her team had basically been taking everything that they were using in their own Blake Lively Baldoni coverage from smaller online creators, and also not always attributing it properly in the beginning. But I noticed that Candace began attributing things as she did with me. And so that whole thing blew over. And again, you can look at my Twitter page and you can see many times that I've complimented her. But I have been disturbed for months at the direction that her work has taken, specifically when it comes to the Brigitte and Emmanuel Macron story. And so you will find me at times calling her out for that, not in an aggressive way, but just saying, look, I watched the entire Becoming Brigitte series and I didn't see any actual evidence. Moreover, I saw gaping holes in her theory that were not addressed, and a number of other aspects of her series that bothered me. And so I talked about that. And then I've talked about lately how I find the Charlie Kirk theories that she's coming up with extremely dubious. Although, again, you can see some videos I've done where I'm talking to some other people and I'm saying, but I don't know. Maybe she honestly believes this. Maybe there's some legitimacy to some of the questions she's asking. Like I feel like very open to Candace, but it has just gotten to the point where it is just utterly ridiculous now. And it's very clear that there is something problematic with her work and what's going on. And so I'm going to look into her, and maybe I change my mind, maybe I don't, but I think that it is definitely time for someone, and I say this in a nice way, but it's time for someone to take her on, at least as a subject of investigation and of scrutiny, because there have been people like Tim Pool out there who recently have begun to talk about the problematic aspects of what Candace has been doing and what she's been promoting. And for anyone who was a big Charlie Kirk fan, a Charlie Kirk Turning Point supporter, it feels like Candace, and this is something that I think Tim Pool has also called attention to, it feels like Candace has done more damage to Charlie Kirk's legacy, to the people that Charlie Kirk cared about, and to his memory and his cause than anyone else since he was killed. I mean, the conversation and the focus has totally shifted in a lot of ways for a lot of people online, has shifted from the actual causes that Charlie Kirk championed to now this morass of conspiracy muck that Candace just keeps throwing. So again, it's time to take a look. And so I hope that you'll check out my series, subscribe to my channel. I've already put out a couple of videos, but I will be starting, as I said, a more formal series, Becoming Candace. And I welcome your input. And if anybody has anything to tell me, good, bad, whatever, contact me. All right, everybody, as always, I depend on your support now more than ever. I'm going out on kind of a scary limb, if you get what I'm saying. And I'm definitely getting a lot of hate from a lot of sectors. I've never had so many comments on my big nose, for example. I mean, that's the one that bothers me, the least, or that's the most absurd and therefore unimportant, right? But so many comments on my big nose, and all of these insinuations about a $7,000 that people think I'm taking from Netanyahu. I mean, it's really ridiculous that a number of you can't see that someone like Candace, who has basically dropped a bomb on the internet, she might naturally activate some of us who want to take a closer look at what the hell's going on. In other words, I don't have to be paid off by Bibi Netanyahu, and I don't have to be Jewish, neither of which is the case, by the way, to be interested in what the hell is going on over here with Candace and these millions and millions of people who think that what she's saying, this vast worldwide multi-pronged conspiracy, is actually happening. So everyone check out my work. My links are below. Tips, donations appreciated. And happy Thanksgiving. Bye.